This afternoon, I'm delighted to welcome Croz Crossley to the show, Perfect Health on Elastic FM with Elaine Godley. So welcome, Croz. And I understand that you've had a lot of time in Australia.
Yes, I moved out there in 1988 and came back to the UK in 2012 after having a very great education in Australia. It's a bit rough and woolly out there, but yeah, it was a fantastic time.
So I'm sure I'm not the first person to comment. I've looked at your website, and with your colourful glasses, your colourful shirts, your beard, I'm sure you've been mistaken for Mr. Harris at some stage.
Well, believe it or not, in another life, I did actually was a Rolf Harris lookalike, but the work dried up when he did those terrible things.
When a certain thing happened, yes, yeah. Oh, that's a shame for you. But okay.
Well, not really. It was just another period of my life, actually. So it was lovely.
Okay, what took you out to Australia in the first place? 1988. Why did you go from England over there?
Well, the main reason that I went over there at the time is I'd had a baby girl in 1983, and at the time I just thought my parents had moved out there many years before. We went out and visited them with our daughter, who was about 2 years old or 3 years old at the time, and it was just wonderful seeing how schools were operated in Australia, especially in Perth. And we were driving around and we saw schools, you know, kids under trees and swimming and all part of the school curriculum. And we thought, well, what a wonderful place for her to grow up. And as my mum and dad were out there anyway, we decided to pop out there. And it was great. And in fact, she's back there now. She left about 2 weeks ago to go back. She's deciding whether she's going to go back and live over there or not. So it's got a great calling for us.
So business-wise, I understand you can't get into Australia unless you've got a profession or a business. So tell us about what you did when you were there.
Well, I went in as a master tiler, which was a bit of an exaggeration. I didn't know how to tile, but I think we had a bit of help. The points thing came back very, very quickly. I think they wanted new blood out there at the time, and within 3 months there was a bit of a problem with getting into Australia, but we for some reason we got in. And while I was out there, I did all sorts of things because I'm very entrepreneurial, but I ended up, which is what I do now, which is sort of coaching and mentoring people about the power of their mind when you link it to work, business, whatever. So that's what I do now, and I sort of talk all over that work.
So the power of the mind, explain yourself.
Well, I'm sure you know how powerful the mind is everything starts and ends with a thought. It's how powerful we actually are, but we've been programmed in our lives. We actually arrive here as a newborn baby with the perfect program for success. And then we spend the rest of our life mucking up the program, which is rather unfortunate. But what I teach people is, reading a book's okay, but it will never give you the what you need to actually make that change, because depending on what mood you're in when you read the book, you will only receive and accept how you feel at the time, if that makes sense. I don't know if you've ever read a book,
yes, yeah,
and then read it again 2 years later, and you think it could even be another book, because you're in a different place when you read it.
Yeah.
So the actual words in the book are only as good as where you are positioned at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, not everybody's ready to receive, are they, when you're presented with
Precisely.
information?
Precisely. And that is where the biggest fault comes of applying this information. First of all, we muck up our program. Then we actually read some stuff to try and get us out of trouble, but it reads differently to every person for where they are at the time, because some people say, well, I've applied that and it doesn't work. But unfortunately, what happens is people think they're thinking something, and I don't know if this is getting too deep for your people, but everything is based on our dominant thought. We can't fool the universe, right? So if someone says, oh, well, yes, I do think that, but deep down they don't believe it or they don't think it, then the dominant thought is what will achieve the result. And that's why so many people try and apply stuff in self-development, but they end up with the wrong result because their dominant thought is actually the wrong result.
I'm exactly with you there, Croz, because in the mentoring that I do through cancer, I help people to recover from cancer and other conditions. And the thing that most of them miss is the emotional and the mind-body connection stuff, because if they could take as many pills and potions and lotions and therapies and all sorts, but if they don't truly believe that they're going to recover, they won't. And I've seen people actually scare themselves and talk themselves into death, which is frightening.
Precisely. That is why doctors say with great accuracy how long you've got left to live. And if they tell you with conviction that you've got 3 months to live, the odds are that when 3 months is up, you'll go.
Yeah.
And that's just it. And once again, that points you to the power of the mind. The control that we've got is absolutely amazing. But there's only 3 things that we need to do, you see. And the trouble is, and the reason that there's so many different books written is everybody's got to make this difficult, because then they can sell their book. So all the self-development books that you've got will come down to 3 things. And this is after 25 years of being in self-development and teaching. I've come down with a system whereby you know where you're going. I call that the clear mental image. So you're perfectly clear on where you're going, and that doesn't involve money, but you've got to actually picture where you're going, and you've got to sort of live it now and enjoy it now. And people say, well, how do you do that? And I said, well, quite easily, because every one of your listeners or viewers, whichever way this goes, every one of them will be able to look into the future for things that can get stressed and distressed about it. But when I say picture something nice in the future and get enjoyment out of it, they say that's impossible. Yeah, it's exactly the same process, but we've got our mind in turmoil, and that's why we can get an emotion off something that doesn't exist in the future, something we're worried about, right? But we can't get enjoyment out of it. And that is part of the teachings that I do, teach people how they can turn that on its head so that you can actually look into the future and enjoy it now, because it's the feeling and emotion that you create now that will create the future. But so many people go through life, Elaine, and they say, I tell you what, I'll do it this way, just a few more things. I'll miss the family and I'll avoid this and I'll do that. And in the future, I'll be happy. It don't work.
No.
I've met so many people over the years that come to me because they have lived. I've got a client at the moment who's a multi-millionaire, and he's so angry with himself for missing his life. And I said, well, we can't do anything about that. We've got to reframe and make sure you enjoy what you've got left. So you've got your clear mental image. That is it. If you don't know where you're going, right, you can spend your whole life just spinning round. And I say to people, where are you heading? They said, well, I don't know, I'm lost. I said, well, where are you heading? So I don't know. Well, you can't be lost if you don't know where you're going. You're just spinning around. So you've got to be so clear on what you want to achieve, what your future looks like, because that is, whatever happens in your life then, you've got a way through it. I call that the transitional disruption. When you have change, there'll always be a bit of disruption. But as long as you know where you're going, then you'll get through the disruption. So you've got to have a clear mental image of where you're going. And then the most important bit is you've got to make where you are where you want to be, right? Because everything stems from now. The actual results that we get in life are based on a simple formula. Thought, feeling. Feeling creates emotion, and the emotion creates the result. Okay? Feel good, good result. Feel bad, bad result. And every single person can identify with that. You get up in the morning and you feel, oh, it's going to be a terrible day. Guess what happens? It carries on being a terrible day. So another thing I teach people is how to flip those thoughts on their head. And there's simple little processes where you can actually turn it all around. So you learn how to look at the future and enjoy the future, even though you haven't got it, but you know it's going to come. So it gives you a good emotion, which makes you feel good where you are. Okay, simple, isn't it? So you make where you are where you want to be, and that is that you enjoy and you accept where you are. I lost a business, a multi-million-dollar business, turning over a lot of money overnight to someone I loved. And I learned all this stuff when I fell down, right? When I fell from that great high, I knew everything, because the funny thing is self-development always works when things are going right. You can slot anything in because you're in the right mindset. Make sense?
Yes.
But the trouble is making it work when things are going wrong. That's the art, because that's when people say, oh, yeah, they won't do it. You know, they say the last thing they want to hear from someone when they're distressed or stressed or whatever, in despair, is relax. The last thing they want to do. They think they've got to keep rushing around and chasing things and doing all this stuff, but it don't work. You've got to calm down and relax. So I learned that when I lost my business, I thought I was skint. And I sold everything off, and got a bit of money together. I got $250,000. Now I think I'm skint, and where I'd come from, I was, but to everyone else, I was rich. So what I didn't do was reframe where I was. So I'm desperately now trying to, with 250 grand, get back what I've earned over the previous 30 years in 5 minutes. Now I'm bound to make a mistake. So that's how the mind works. It tries to get back in 5, totally ridiculous and unreasonable. But when you're stressed, you think that all the things that don't work when you're relaxed will work when you're stressed. Do you see how we got everything jumbled up?
Absolutely. It's the
We've
same.
spun everything.
It's the same with health as well. People say to me, oh, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing everything right. And they might have been doing whatever the things are that I've suggested. And they might have been doing them for 2 weeks, and they suddenly expect to recover from cancer that has been there building up for 50 years. Madness.
Precisely. And the thing is that we all lie to ourselves. We all lie to ourselves. Do those exercises. Do 20 minutes of those exercises. You do 5 minutes, and then you go back and you say, yeah, I've been doing the exercises, but you haven't been doing what you're told. And the thing is, if you don't do what you're told, you can't get the results. And it's always our bloody fault, isn't it? Your fault, my fault, everyone else who's trying to help people. If it doesn't work, it's your fault. But at the end of the day, we lie to ourselves. And that's another thing. You see, life is so easy, and people, I'll end up with the other thing, and let me just finish about the thing. So I went skint. I thought I was skint. So I opened a business that I shouldn't have opened with the 250,000. Spent all that money opening a business I shouldn't have opened. Ran it for 2 years with my wife. It was a dessert restaurant called Deadly Desserts, which was aptly named because it nearly killed us. Right? But So we ran the restaurant for 2 years, and we decided this isn't what we want. We put the key in the door. So we'd worked 2 years to get rid of that 250 grand. The moral of the story is, if I'd have sought counsel from someone who knew what they were doing, they would have said, Croz, just calm down, go and lie by your pool for 2 years, pay yourself 25 grand a year, and in 2 years' time, you'll have $200,000 and you'll know what to do with it. That would have been a better result, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Instead of
absolutely.
losing everything, right? So all the stuff that I teach comes from a place of knowing, because I've actually been there.
Yeah.
So when someone comes to me with a problem, I say, I can identify with you, but you can't get that empathy out of a book, right?
It's like
you can't get that empathy.
reading a book on how to swim. Unless you jump in the pool, it's not going to work, is it?
Precisely. And if you do jump in the pool, right, isn't it lovely to have someone on the side who knows what they're doing, who can, you know, give you a little bit of support, and if you get into trouble, is going to dive in and save you, right? And that's what it's all about. You cannot underestimate the power of having someone who's been there, along there, as a coach or a mentor for getting results. I mean, I know this stuff works. I mean, or it either works, Elaine, or I am the luckiest man on earth. Today, you'll find something about me. I never ever tell a story or untruth, right? This week, Croz, thank you so much. I've just had the best January I've ever had. Someone who came to me 6 months ago, Brexit, then there was snow, then there was this, then there was that. All the reasons why her business couldn't work well, right? Because I've just had the best January I've ever had, right? Brexit and that, there's nothing, that ain't going to affect us. That's all mythical stories that people are making up to frighten you at the moment, frighten you either to leave or frighten you to remain. It doesn't matter, you know, but we can't do anything about it, but we use it to blame. We say, yeah, it's a good excuse. It's like when the financial crisis come. Everyone used it as an excuse to get rid of people out of their businesses or whatever, right? It was just, we just use everything as an excuse. Things that go wrong in our life, we use them as an excuse. Yeah, well, they've been all right, but there's that divorce. How long ago was that, mate? 10 years ago. Oh, you've been dragging it around for 10 years. Well, it wasn't fair. Yeah, I know, but ain't you going to get on with your life? See how we blame everything else other than ourselves? These are all things. We're so powerful. And people think that the hard thing is getting money. The easiest thing in the world to get is money. It's a sideline of the teaching, right? But we make it hard. We convince ourselves it's hard. And we get taught myths like hard work and money are related. They're the opposite ends of the scale. Hard work and money ain't related at all. And if anyone tells you they are, they're a fool, because they're not related. And most people I know that have got plenty of money don't appear to do anything. Right?
What was it that led you then to get into this training, Croz? So you had your deadly desserts. You decided to continue.
I came out of that, and I had read all business books and self-development, and all the time I was a successful businessman. It was easy to apply the information because I was in the right mindset, and then I'd apply it and it would work. But it's pointless having the information only working if it only works when you're in a good place. So I was skint now, 43 years old, nothing, not $1. I'd kept my credit rating and had a few cards, credit cards, which was salvation for me. And I read a book called The Science of Getting Rich. And in that book, it says,
Wallace
Wattles, yeah. And I've rewritten that book. And if any of your people want it, just get them. We'll give them some details later, and I'll send them a free copy of the book.
Lovely, right? Thank you.
I rewrote it in plain English, okay? Because that guy, he starts off by saying, look, I've took all the rubbish out of it, all the waffle. You don't want that, right? Well, I used to call him Waffle Wallace because he took all the waffle out. But that book, in it, one bit, he says, if you follow this book to the letter, you cannot fail. I thought, no one's ever told me that, never said that before. No one had ever made that claim. So I said, what I'll do is I'll follow it. And did you know the book, The Secret?
Yes.
By Rhonda Byrne? Well, I was
Yeah.
actually in a class, an online class with Rhonda Byrne before she wrote that. And she based that's all based on the science of getting rich. She was actually in my class, you know, in that intake of learning all about the science of getting rich. And I followed that. And all of a sudden, I reframed where I was, didn't stop blaming everybody, forgave the bloke that nicked my business and everything, which is another thing we'll come on to in a minute if we've got time, forgiving people. And I followed it to the letter. And whereby I've been spinning wheels and getting all this bloody smoke and noise and what's it like, wheel spinning, I just stopped, reframed where I was, and all of a sudden, I started getting back into the game. It all started happening because I was following it. I was doing what I was told and relaxing, getting this clear vision, enjoying myself where I was. Because the thing is, if you think about it, Elaine, when you've got two people doing exactly the same thing but getting different results, there's got to be something in it, hasn't there? Right? There's got to be something that changes things, whether that's a power or whatever you want to call it. I believe that there's a power that we can control, right? But that power isn't up in the sky or anywhere else. It's inside us.
Yes.
So we're in total control, right? And we have forgotten how to utilize it because life's so busy now. Normally, mum and dad have both got to go to stand still. When I was growing up, my dad went to work, my mum was at home. Stuff for sale in the shops was on enamel signs on the wall. It was not saying it's any better, but you knew where you were, right? And now I talk to people, they haven't got time to stand still. Both of them are working themselves to death and can't move forward. But once you actually adopt these teachings, you see, there's all the things that you learn from the past, all the sayings from the past, like more haste, less speed, right? Wallace actually says in the book, go as far as you can, but never hurry, right? What a lovely saying that is. Go as fast as you can, but never hurry. Because that is the secret, is that you're going. This isn't a charter to be lazy. It's not a charter for anything other than giving you the ability to take control of your life. You stop being buffeted about by news. You know, one of the best things you can do to improve your life is turn the bloody news off. Because
I stopped. I don't even have a television. I stopped buying newspapers and watching the news over 20 years ago, and I don't miss anything.
And the thing is, Elaine, that if there is anything that affects you, you can guarantee that someone will read it and ring you up and tell you about it.
Yeah. I listen in the morning. I listen to the Today programme on Radio 4 between 6 and 9. And if it's not on the Today programme, I don't need to know about it. End of.
Precisely. But you know, so the thing is that we are buffeted about by all the information that we get. I mean, look at this at the moment with Brexit and all these things. You can't get away from it. You know, everywhere you turn, it's what's going to happen? The rules are, with all this information, okay, it don't say things are going to be easy, but what it says is that whenever you get confronted by a problem, you will be given the tools to deal with it. And it doesn't matter what the problem is. What causes stress isn't solving a problem. What causes stress is trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Do you understand?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? And stress is huge for illness. Absolutely huge.
Yeah. If this happens, if that happens, right? Oh, what if this happens? So you're trying to solve something that doesn't exist, which is rubbish. So let me ask you and all your viewers a question. How many problems, major problems, have they had in their life?
Most people have had very few.
Right. Well, okay. So if you've had any few, at least you've had some. Right?
Yeah,
And
everybody has problems, but it's the magnitude.
where are they now? Where are they now?
Mm, yeah.
In the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you've got 100% track record of getting over hurdles, getting over problems. And whatever happened, whether it was easy or difficult, you got over it.
Yeah.
They're the rules. If you allow it to happen, you'll get over it. But every single person that's watching this or listening to this now who's got a problem will be saying, yeah, well, that's all right, but this is the worst one I've ever had. This is the biggest one, the widest one, the deepest one, the longest one that I've ever had. And there's nothing you can say that's going to help. Well, hang on a minute. You've got 100% track record of getting over problems, right? And the minute that you actually start looking at it properly, because sometimes relaxation comes when you've got no options, right? Because you say to yourself subconsciously that things can't get any worse. And that's the turning point when you've actually accepted that you've bottomed out. Make sense?
Yeah,
And that
acceptance
gives
is really
you,
important, isn't it? Acceptance and
yeah,
acknowledgement is really important.
that's it. And that is then the springboard for the thing. But you people say, but that is in its own way relaxing you because you've actually resigned to the fact that it can't get any worse. But and then all of a sudden things start changing because once you've said things can't get any worse, you're only then looking for improvement.
Mm.
And once you're looking for improvement, guess what you find? Improvement.
Mm.
Amazing, isn't it?
And you're saying about relaxing and not rushing around. You never see Buddhists running around, do you? Have you ever seen a Buddhist run? Doesn't happen, does it?
But you see, the thing is, last year, every year I have a tagline. Right? Last year was do less, earn more, because I've not been into a business yet that I cannot claim time back for the owner. Ever. In 25 years, I've never found a business running that sweet. And don't make me any more clever than those people. It means that I'm observing from a distance, which is a wonderful ability to look and not be emotionally involved in what's going on and just saying, right, blah, 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 blah. I've got a client at the moment, the sister of the girl that actually said that she just had her best January. This other one, she just had another amazing thing happen where she's had a record number of interviews that she's created in December, Christmas, all the things that she was why it couldn't be a good thing. She had a record month in December by purely just relaxing. And we've got her time. She was working from home 15 hours a week. We've now got it down to 10 and increased her income, right? Because she was fooling herself. Because we all lie to ourselves, Elaine. We all lie to ourselves. We kid ourselves, right? And she used to sit at the thing, making phone calls and doing all things. She used to think if she was sitting at the desk, she was busy. But when we worked it out, she wasn't. She was lying to herself, saying, I'll make 20 cold calls. Well, the unfortunate thing about a cold call, by virtue of what it is you're looking for a no, right? Because you can get off the phone once the person said no, you've done it, but you've gone through the process of making a phone call. So what we've done is we just turned it on its head and we said, well, look, don't make cold calls, just calls where you're trying to create a relationship and blah, 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 and totally everything changes, right? And this whole thing, I mean, there's loads and loads and loads and loads of different stuff that you that you can learn. But the biggest thing is my tagline this year is you are in total control. Everything good that happens to you, you're responsible. But unfortunately, Elaine, guess what? Everything bad that happens to you, you're responsible.
Yeah, the box stops
You
with
are
us,
in
doesn't
total,
it?
precisely, you're in total control. There was a wonderful story that the Hindus, when they were working out, because the power's been known. I mean, it's been abused by man for his own purpose or whatever you want to do. But the power has been around for thousands and thousands of years. And there's a wonderful story about the Hindus sitting there working out where they should hide the power, right? And they're all sitting there and say, well, I'll tell you what we do. We'll put it at the top of a mountain. And then one of them says, nah, he said, what if someone walks up the mountain and they find it? No, we've got to make it really difficult for them to find. Well, why don't we put it at the bottom of the ocean? Still, we've got to find somewhere that there's no way they can possibly find it. What about behind the clouds? Nah. Now, in years to come, there'll be a way of flying up there and finding it. And some little Hindu at the back, Hindu guru at the back, he put his hand up. He says, I tell you what, why don't we hide it inside them? They'll never find it there. Mm. That means we're always looking everywhere else for solutions. And the solution can always be found within us. There's always a way of finding a solution within us. And this whole thing that I teach is this thing. I annoy people so much because I don't get riled. Right? I play golf and sometimes very, very badly, and people can't work out how I don't smash my clubs up. I'm just having such a good time. I'd prefer to play better golf, but it don't upset me when I play bad golf, because even when I do a bad shot, it's the best I could have done at the time. That was my best effort, and it didn't work out. So once you're accepting of it, right? And that's it. And people say, why don't you get annoyed about that? I said, well, what is the actual point of getting annoyed about? I don't fall out with people. I never close the door on things. I mean, there's people that I've blocked out from my, I don't voluntarily put myself in their things, but I don't never fall out with people, because I've got that's one of my things, is I never close the door. In fact, today, after 22 years, funny enough, from Australia, a guy that I was dying to meet again, my wife and I were talking about it 3 days ago. Wouldn't it be lovely to catch up with Simon again? Blah, 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 blah. Guess who got hold of me today?
Yeah, Simon. So Simon, you put the thought out there and Simon appeared.
Yeah, and listen, that is an amazing part of these teachings, is that you tend to be given what you need once you're in the right place to receive things, because we chase things, and in life, whatever you chase will run away. If it's a woman, if it's an animal, anything you chase will run away. So what you have to do is you have to attract things towards you, right? And when you relax, it's like, I always used to tell the story of David Attenborough and the gorillas. Do you remember that wonderful program where he went into the thing of gorillas, family of gorillas?
Yeah, and they all came up to him.
Yeah, he just sat down quietly, didn't he? And he was just whispering. He was just there. And they all come up and they started touching his nose and everything like that. Wonderful, wonderful bit of film. But he attracted them because he wasn't chasing them. So they came to him. And that's how things in your life come to you. You attract them. And it's, it's like whenever you relax, you're sending out the right vibration to attract what you want. You'll never send out the right vibration when you're stressed, depressed, anxious, whatever, right? So you've got to relax to sort of make everything work. And the last thing that you want to hear when you are wound up and knotted is to relax. But that is the start of it all. And if you take nothing else from this little chat we're having, it's 3 things. Number 1, relax. Number 2, relax. And what do you think the third one is, Elaine?
Relax.
Relax. That's it. That's it. And that is the start of it all. That is when we are functioning correctly. Okay? And if you're forcing anything, you've got to stop, because that's not a natural thing. If you're forcing it, you're doing it wrong. You relax, how many times have you been sort of trying to do that, you know, get a knot out of your shoelaces? Then you calm for a minute, just go back to it again, all nice and relaxed, not all stressed, and it all comes apart. Lovely, doesn't it?
Wonderful.
How
So,
many times?
Croz, how can we get? You mentioned about your book. So
Yeah.
where do people
Well,
ask? How do we do this?
Right. Okay. My email address is worryfreeuk@gmail.com.
So that's
Okay.
3 words: worry free, or 2
UK,
words:
all one
worry
word.
free
All
UK
one word.
@gmail.com.
It's all one word. Worry
Yep.
free UK, all one word.
Okay.
@gmail.com. Now, if you send that there and just put SOGRIPE, which is the science of getting rich in plain English, in
Yeah.
the subject, and that will let me know that it's someone asking for a thing, and I'll get my girl here to send you a copy of the thing. It's all digital,
Yeah.
and also I've got a book, a proper book, you know, like a book that I've written called Tell Us Another. I could have got one and showed you. Anyway, I've got a book called Tell Us Another, which has got a lot of stories in it and a lot of these teachings in it, but not in a teachy way, just in a way that I've discovered it for myself. And that's called Tell Us Another, and that's for sale on my website, which is croz.uk.com/product/book. And if you do that, it'll take you straight to the place where there's free postage and packing. Boom, 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 boom. I'll put a nice little message in it for you, and they'll get it the next day.
Okay. So that's Croz, CROZ.
Yeah. .uk.com.
Yeah.
And /product/book.
Okay.
And that takes you straight to the page to order it. And anything else, like, you can touch base with me online, on Facebook or whatever. I'm very, very approachable, because all my mission in life is to tell as many people as possible how easy life is if you live it properly.
Brilliant. That's wonderful. I ask, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Croz. I asked for 2 songs. You've chosen Bridge Over Troubled Water and Always on My Mind. So why did you choose those 2 songs?
I think Bridge Over Troubled Water, I loved the Elvis Presley version of that. And it was, because I think it's my view of life, because life at the moment is all turmoil. And I think you can get over it, and that sort of pictured the turmoil underneath you, and you just gliding over the top. So that's quite nice. And Always on My Mind just reminds me of my wife, who I've been with for 50 years. So I must have done something right.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Croz, and we'll get people to go to croz.uk.com. That's your main website, and they can have a poke about there as well and see other stuff.
Have a little fiddle about it. Not a lot on there, because I'm not really I don't have the time. But it's there anyway. But it's not, nothing spectacular. But it's there. So don't expect to spend too much time there.
Okay, and you're also on Facebook as well, Croz Crossley.
On Facebook, it's Croz Crossley, yeah. And if you want to do it on there, because I'm just put a little note, just say via Elaine or something when you make your application, because I'm fussy who I have as on there as friends. But anyone who's listening to this who wants to do it, will most certainly accept them. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Croz. Keep on rocking.
Keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
Magic moments. Lovely talking to you.